Good evening.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm wonderful.
Do you mind introducing yourself?
I guess. My name is Ameera. I am your favorite little brown girl in a big world. I'm also a petite fashion model, and I work in real estate. So, yeah, I'm here for all of your photo needs, your real estate needs, your comedic timing needs. Honestly, whatever you need me for.
Okay.
Galley on the drum.
That's a pretty hell of an intro. Okay.
You're welcome.
So, tell me about how did you get started in modeling? You mentioned a few things. We're going to talk about all of them.
Yeah, okay, cool. So modeling really started for me out of a very dark place in my life. I was not happy with myself, with my body, with what I felt my aura exuded, right? So I needed to see myself in a new light. So I scheduled a photo shoot, and just like a trade for print kind of test shoot vibe, never shot a day in my life. I loved being in front of the camera, but I didn't really think there was any sort of career in it. And I went to this first shoot and absolutely fell in love and found that it was really my calling. I loved doing it. It made me happy, and time seemed to just fly right by me. So I continued to shoot more and more and more, still just test shoots, not really booking any sort of serious paid gigs, just freelance and, enjoying myself as I went along. And there came a time where I actually got with an agent, a single agent, and she wasn't with a big agency or anything like that, but she had connections in places that I needed to be and that would help me get to where I wanted to be. And so I got with her, linked up with her, and ended up meeting up and being able to have the opportunity to learn from America's Next Top Model, Kenya Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so I did her Find Your Light posing class and model coaching class, and it was absolutely incredible, total game changer for me in my career. And that actually led me to New York Fashion Week. So September of 2020, I attended New York Fashion Week. 2021. I attended New York Fashion Week, and it was an absolute dream. I realized that I love doing runway, and I was surprised that there was actually space for me in the runway world. I didn't think that there was that much of a market for petite models, and especially petite Indian models, and it turned out that there was. So I found that I love doing runway too. Definitely like doing print more than runway, just because my opportunity while there is definitely limited with when it comes to runway and that niche market of petite modeling. But I love doing runway, I love it. It's so much fun. But I definitely find that I have more success in booking jobs with print or commercial work or advertorial work.
Okay, so what's the difference between runway and print as far as opportunity?
So the thing about runway modeling is that depending on the venue that you're in, you may have people who are buyers or photographers that are like way in the back, right? So if you have somebody of my stature walking down a runway, I'm beautiful, right? But I am not going to be able to wear as much of the design as a model who is, say, between 5'7" and 5'11". So it's really all about having a canvas and having a large enough canvas to display your design, so that everybody's able to see it no matter the venue, no matter the place. Because you think about it, a lot of these designers, they may not know, especially when you get to a smaller designer, they don't necessarily know where their design is going to be showcased, right? So it could be in a really small venue, very, intimate setting, or it could be in a venue where there's, rows and rows and rows of people, and then you've got 5 to 10 feet between the end of the runway and where your photographers are. Who knows, right? So, things like that. So designers want to be able to have as much canvas as they possibly can. So while, I'm sure I could do great on the runway and I got a great walk, I just don't have as much space for a designer to really showcase their designs.
Okay, so did that discourage you initially?
It definitely did. I think that was the main thing that made me hesitant to even jump into modeling, because while print is fun, runway is what most people think of when they think of modeling. And so I didn't think that there was much of a chance for me. So I didn't really seriously consider it for a long time. And it wasn't until I really got on a runway, and my first runway show ever in my entire life was a New York Fashion Week show. So it wasn't until I got on the runway myself that I really realized that there was actually space for me and space for people like me.
Okay, so for those who don't know what that means, when you say space, what does that mean? Space for you specifically.
Space for me specifically. So when I say that, I really mean in the industry. when you think about models in the United States, traditionally, we think of fair-skinned people with blonde hair or light brown hair and a certain color of eyes and a certain body shape. And we're moving now towards a time where we're much more inclusive, because the truth of the matter is, if you're going to sell a product, clothes specifically, it's got to fit a variety of people,
Everybody's
right?
not shaped like that supermodel.
Exactly. And it's wonderful to see it, but it creates this false image of, this false image of what it's going to look like. And then it also discourages certain people from trafficking your store. So while it's nice to have a niche, if your niche is cutting into your profits, how much is that niche really worth, right? So it's, better to be inclusive of all people. And just in general, I think it's better to be inclusive of all people because we are all different. And, when you really think when you really think about it at its very, most basic level, we're all doing life for the first time.
Yeah.
Nobody's been here before. There is no manual. There is no, here's what you need to do. We're all doing this for the first time. So I think that we need to give each other all a little bit of grace and a lot less judgment and be inclusive of all people. Doesn't hurt to be kind.
It was super PC, but it was honest.
Yeah.
When I just started photography about a year and a half ago. And before that, in my mind, I thought looking different was a good thing in the modeling world.
Yeah.
Has it not always, obviously, but I would like to think in our lifetime, it's been more prominent than with your standard, no offense to white women, but like your standard white woman, blonde hair, blue eyes. Am I wrong for that assumption?
No, I definitely think we're seeing more.
It seems like those who look different, in a good way, obviously, get more work or potentially get more work than your cookie cutter old school model.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things, and I think you and I talked about this before, where it's all about turning heads, right? So if you see somebody who just looks like something you've never seen before, completely not a run-of-the-mill person that you see on the street that you just pass by and don't think about again, but somebody who you see and they just really stick in your mind.
Like, damn, okay.
That's what designers go for, right? So they go for somebody that is going to be memorable. So whether that be, just absolutely drop-dead, stunning, gorgeous, out of this world, no questions asked, not only just the general consensus, but everybody agrees. Like,
beauty
wow,
is beauty.
Right?
Pretty,
from a purely aesthetic standpoint, you are an aesthetically pleasing human. The way that your face has been arranged, chef's kiss, right? So you got the golden ratio. And then you've got people who look completely different than what you'd imagine them to look. Or, like you said, just different. And at the same time, those people change, turn heads the same way that somebody who's, Beyonce walking down the runway does. So it's all a matter of, I think, being able to turn a head. And so now we're moving towards, like you said, different is great, and I think we're moving towards a more accepting industry.
Okay. So as far as modeling, what's been your highest point and what's been your lowest point?
Okay.
Or what's a moment that stuck out to you? It's like, wow, this is for real. And then what was a moment you was like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Okay, yeah. Oh, wait, I can cuss?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, all right. Sorry, I was trying to be so PG and okay, yeah, all right. What was the question? I'm so sorry.
You're fine. What's the moment you were like, fuck, what was I thinking? Why did I start doing this? And what, as a low point, what was your high point? Like, okay, I can do this for real. Like, what was that shining moment that let you know?
I can think about the worst time. I can absolutely think about the worst time. And let this be a warning, a story of warning for all models. I had a photographer. I took some very risque photos. I was just 18, barely 18. And when you're 18, you think you know everything and you want to do everything under the sun, and I'm grown. So went over there and dabbled in grown people business when I didn't have no business dabbling in grown people business. So anyways, these very risque photos of me were leaked online by the photographer that took them. Without my permission, he got paid from them, and I never received a dime, nor did I know that it had happened until I was at a magazine release party. And another photographer came up to me and says, I didn't know you were shooting boudoir again. And I said, well, neither did I. What makes you say that?
Right.
Oh, well, I saw photos of you online. Well, what kind of photos? Well, boudoir photos. I said, please show me. So he shows me, and they're photos that were never supposed to be online, explicitly agreed upon, never being posted to anything.
Lordy.
Yeah. So I reached out to the photographer and I said, hey, you and I need to have a conversation.
Somebody steal your hard drive? Like, why did these get on the
I
internet?
found out about some things that I'm really not happy about. We need to have a conversation. And he didn't want to give me the rights back to the photos. He didn't want to take them down. So I ended up having to get an attorney involved. And, it ends up being this whole huge thing. And I really thought everything was over because at this point, I didn't have the career I have now. I didn't, have an established life yet. So I was really concerned about, well, what happens if, somebody finds these? And the thing about it was, as I processed everything, I realized I wasn't upset that they were leaked. They were damn good photos. They were tasteful as hell. I was upset that I didn't get paid.
Yeah, if he made money, you should have got some money.
I should have made money, and I didn't. So, I have no doubt that karma is a bitch. Okay. I don't need to facilitate it, though I'd like to. Don't need to. It'll come back and get him. But that was definitely a low point for me. I really thought everything was over. I thought I was done. I didn't want to do this anymore. What is the point?
Okay.
And that was February of 2021 that I found out about all that. And it was like 8 months of ongoing with the lawyers and it's just a whole lot of shit. And that was almost my breaking point. But I realized that you already took so much from me. I can't let you take this too. Okay. And so I decided to take that and run with it and, use it as a warning to other models to let them know. And, to make it part of what I do is to let people know, hey, shoot with him if you want. Right. But this is what's going to happen. So.
Is somebody in our area?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about it after we get done.
100%. 100%. Okay. Yeah. So, all that being said, I'm wonderful now. If I had it to do all over again, I'd do it again. I really would. I don't think that there's anything that I wouldn't have done again because I think it taught me a lot about this industry and the realities of this industry. And it is that people are slimy. They are dogs. They will drag you through the mud and not think twice about it. And that's just kind of what it is. And I think that's part of who we are as people too. We look out for ourselves. So all that being said, that was probably the worst of the worst. I was ready to throw in the towel, but thank God I didn't. Yeah. And then my best moment, best moment.
Probably had quite a few, but.
There's been a lot. Probably New York Fashion Week. I have to say my first New York Fashion Week was absolutely incredible and so surreal. And it's one of those things where you think about it as a kid, you play pretend and you dream about it.
And you're really there.
I was really there. 5-year-old me was jumping for joy and just absolutely over the moon that I was there. And to have that opportunity was so incredible. And I was so grateful for it. So I think that probably has to be one of my top tier moments. That was a really good one. And then to get to live it over 6 times over.
You done it 6 times?
6 times I've done it, yeah. So I had to skip this year because I did just buy a house.
Okay. Congratulations, homeowners.
Thank you. So I did skip it in September, but I will be back in February. So if you happen to be in New York and you're looking for something to do sometime in the first weekend of February, come see me.
So you'll be there in 2025 February?
Yes.
Okay. So how does that work? How does that invite work?
So I got linked up with a production team through Kenya Hill. And
wait, who's Kenya Hill?
She was America's Next Top Model. She was my mentor for a while. And so she, Kiara Bellin, who was also a contestant on America's Next Top Model, she and Kenya worked together. And so that was how I got linked in with this particular production company. And they've invited me back every year since I went initially. Okay. Yeah. So I always go with them. And then, of course, there's other shows that I go out and cast for. Like I said, I am not ashamed to say I have gone out for so many shows and gotten so many no's. I have walked into a casting, walked in, no, and walked out. So
damn.
Yeah, it happens. Like if you don't fit the bill, you don't fit the bill. It's nothing personal.
Right. Just is what it is.
No, hell no. They don't give a shit about who I am. They're like, nope, too short, get out. So yeah, I've had designers who have casted me and then, based on my measurements or my comp card, and then they see me and they're like, you're too skinny. This is going to fall right off of you. Like, so, it happens.
It's not personal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I remember very specifically, there was one show where I had 2 designers, and one of my designers was so late. She was like an hour and a half, 2 hours late, and then shows up 5 minutes before her set is supposed to go on, and shows up with all of her own house models, but casted models from our production. And none of us, So I was down to only one walk. I said, absolutely not. I did not fly all the way to New York to walk for one designer.
Wow.
So I went around to every single designer. Do you have anything that needs to still be walked? I'd love to walk for you. I'd love to walk for you. Because the thing about it is if you don't ask, the answer's already no.
Yeah. What if you lost if they say no? Then you weren't walking anyway, so yeah.
Exactly. So, I very distinctly remember that. And I remember honestly thinking, like, this is my last one. I'm not doing this anymore. This isn't worth it for me. I don't get casted. Like, this is a waste of my time. But then I realized that whether or not I got to walk, the networking opportunities that I had there, the opportunity to be seen that I had there, and I enjoy it, and if that's like the one work and pleasure trip that I get for the year, I'll take it. So, I'm glad I went back. I'm really glad I went back. I've loved it every time I've gone back. I've got so many Getty images. I've gotten a couple of New York Times Square billboards. So yeah.
Okay, big time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely something that I'm glad that I stuck with. And I won't lie, here lately I have not been working as much as I'd like to. Life gets in the way, adulting gets in the way. But I'm happy to get back into it. It really is something that I enjoy doing so much.
Okay, so you mentioned different types of shooting styles. What's your favorite style of being shot, and what's your favorite style of photography that you enjoy looking at?
So when you say how do I like to be shot, do you mean like how do I like my photographer to shoot me? I prefer the rapid shot. Just sit there, shoot, and just let me move.
Oh, you hate me then, because I never do that when we shoot.
No, you don't.
Because why am I take a million pictures and pick 4?
Well, I understand that. You don't have to take a million, but if you like on a timer, like,
That's how it started. I used to do 3 bursts.
Yeah.
But I did that because I was terrified of if I missed the shot, at least one of these 3 will be close to what I had in my head.
Yeah.
Now I see it in the camera and I go, okay.
Yeah. I can appreciate that. I ain't mad at you. But yeah.
Do you like portrait? Do you prefer, like, how do you want to be shot?
I prefer portrait only because, you mean like portrait or landscape?
No, style. Street photography, portrait.
Oh, my God. I was
My bad. I
so
should
confused.
be more clear. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some interviewer you are.
I'm normal. I'm just having a conversation.
Let's see. I do love I love street photography. I love being shot in a street photography type setting because I love I just love the vibes of street photography. I feel like you can capture so much culture in street photography. My favorite photography to look at has got to be architectural photography.
Really?
Yes.
As a model?
Yes.
I'm very surprised. Why is that?
Because though I am a model, I'm also very logical and very science-based in my thinking
So you
and very
see the
logic-based in
measurements
my
of a
thinking.
beautiful building?
No, but I want to see, I love the patterns. I love the geometric designs. And then, I think it's interesting too to see so much of the architecture that we have that surrounds us. The fact that it somehow stands upon itself. To me, some of those things are absolutely insane.
Okay.
Like, how is it? How?
Math.
Right? And here I thought trigonometry was stupid. So, shout out to my high school trig teacher, Miss Owens.
Okay, so have you ever thought about being on this side of the camera?
I have. A lot of being like a good model is understanding what's happening on the other side of the lens. So understanding where your light is, understanding, okay, if my photographer is positioned here, this is how I need to be positioned. And I feel like it also eliminates so much of the fluff and the bullshit and the time wasting in a shoot. I hate wasting time during a shoot. Because to be honest with you, I'm ready to get home.
Oh, my bad. You ready to go?
No. But like in general, I'm ready. I'm like, okay, let's get it done. Like I'm good at what I do. You're good at what you do. Let's get it done.
And let's get it out of here.
Yeah, let's get it on and popping. Get the hell on through. It gets dark at 5 o'clock, dog. I'm tired. So, but yeah, so I like to, wow.
Get it done?
Yeah.
Okay.
the thoughts just like complete, like my brain did a
No, you're
screenshot.
fine.
I'm pretty sure every little minion in my brain just went for a staff meeting that I was not invited to. I'm so
Oh, I
sorry.
was asking you what makes you. Have you ever thought about being on this side?
Right. Yes.
I'm pretty good at pulling this back.
Yes, I have. If I'm being completely honest, I am too conceited to be on that side of the camera.
Okay.
Just being honest.
At least she's keeping it funky. Okay.
Yeah. I keep it all the way funky.
Okay. So you also said you're a realtor. Is
I'm
that
not
right
a
now?
realtor. I'm an operations director at a real estate firm.
What does that mean? Because I have no idea.
It means if you call me a realtor, don't do that because I'll get fined.
Oh, my bad. Okay. So what is your job responsibility? Don't tell us where. Just
yeah, right. So I manage like all of our social media.
Mhm.
I manage our onboarding and hiring for new agents.
Mhm.
I handle day-to-day operations. I handle transactions, incoming and outgoing phone calls, emails.
So how did you get into that and still maintain being a model?
So how I got my job is actually interesting. I used to work next door to the firm that I work at now
Mhm.
at an eye care
You're
practice.
selling glasses to nerds like me?
No, I was managing the practice.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. So, but at the end, before that, I was doing, I started out as a receptionist there, and then I did optometric teching.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how it. Eyeball techs.
Okay.
Yeah. Like,
Oh,
you
the
know, when you
machine
go
that
to
blows the wind in your eye
yes,
in
that
the
was
barn?
me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I did move into doing optical sales. I very like dabbled in it. I kind of interned in optical sales, and then I ended up once our manager left, I ended up kind of taking over her role
Okay.
for a while. And then they got bought out by this big corporate company, and they sucked. So I was like, screw this noise. So, anyways, the firm that was next door, my manager that was there at the time, she actually worked at the firm. She was a part-time realtor there. And so the broker in charge that was over there would oftentimes come over to our office and, you know, they would chop it up, shoot the shit. And so he and I would often talk. And, you know, I would always joke with him like, oh, you're going to give me a job one day. You need me in that office. You need me there. Like, I'm ready to quit here. I'm ready to quit. And I kind of like, as a lead, like I nurtured him as a lead for about a year. And then one day after everything went left with this company getting bought out, I went and I put my 2 weeks in at my job. I had absolutely no plan, just a fucking hope and a prayer. And I went to his office and I sat down. I said, so I just quit my job. And I put in my 2 weeks. So I will be out of there in 2 weeks. I would like to be here at 9 a.m. on November 2nd, ready to work for you.
He was like, hell yeah.
He was like, well, I don't really have like a position necessarily for you yet. I was like, we can find something. I'll see you Monday.
That's quite assertive.
So I showed up on Monday and I had a job and I've been there for a year. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
I like that.
And it's honestly the best job I've ever had in my entire life. The broker there is incredible. It's him and his wife. So it's family owned. It's Black owned.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love it. I love my job. I love my coworkers. I never thought that I'd find myself in real estate. Had absolutely no desire to be in real estate. Just luck of the draw, you know? Luck of the draw.
Oh,
But
wow.
now everybody who comes into contact with me has access to the Upstate's top network of real estate agents. And how lucky is that for them?
So how did you develop this networking ability?
The networking ability?
Your natural networking
Oh, honestly, okay. So I have to preface this. My mom, I'm adopted. My mom is white.
ability.
I am brown.
We can see that.
Thanks. Anyways, so growing up, I also grew up in the deep South. Like I grew up in Darlington County, if anybody knows where that is. It's near Florence.
Okay, down there towards the beach.
You know, like NASCAR? I was in NASCAR Central.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and this was like back early 2000s. So my mom was always worried about me making friends because like I was this like weird little Indian kid, you know, like in deep South Carolina. And so my mom, I don't know, like, honestly, it's a miracle I didn't get kidnapped and like thrown into a van. But my mom, we would go to the park and she would just like set me down in front of some kids and be like, this is Ameera, go play, and just walk away. So
That's actually not a bad idea.
so I had no choice but to become friends.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I hardly ever meet a stranger. Which, you know, I don't, maybe I should be more disconcerting. I don't know.
No,
But
yeah.
so she I blame my mom.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's where it comes from.
Did you ever have any time where it was, as an adult, that it was hard to figure out what quote unquote clique you blend in with, being Indian?
So I'm one of those that kind of fits in everywhere and nowhere. So
I know that feeling.
yeah. So it's weird because as an Indian woman, living in
The South.
fuck it, white America.
Yeah,
honestly.
that too.
You like, you're seen as the good minority, you know?
Yeah. No
Indian
offense.
people-
Indian people and Asian people.
Yeah, well, Indians are Asian.
Continental wise,
Yeah.
yes. But
Um,
ethnically, no.
yes, we are.
No, because we see Asian.
We're Asian. Our
excuse me.
race is Asian. Our ethnicity is
There you go. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Indian.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so we're seen as like the good
I'm
minority.
trying to tell you what your shit is.
Yeah, I know, right? LOL. If you were white, I'd be offended. No, I'm just kidding. I'm offended now. LOL. Just kidding. Okay, so we're seen as like the good minority, and so but at the same time, you're still not white, but you're not black.
Yeah.
So to some people are like, you're just not white, so you're black. So like I said, I grew up in the South, so there weren't very many Indian people at all. And so I naturally gravitated towards the people who looked like me, which were black people. And so a lot of my friends growing up were black or Hispanic. And when I was around the age of like 6 or 7, I started teaching myself Spanish. And so there was this really cute boy in my class, and he used to always sit by himself, and I really wanted to talk to him because he was really cute.
He spoke Spanish only.
Yeah, but he only spoke Spanish because his parents were immigrants. They were from Guatemala. And so
I'm going to get his number.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to get that home phone. Don't you even worry about it.
Landline what?
I'm trying to tell you, hello.
Oh,
Buenos días, ¿puedo
crazy.
hablar con Pedro, porfa? No, so I finally, I figured out what I wanted to say. I started watching, the
Dora the Explorer
programs. Well, I started watching, PBS in Spanish and stuff like that. And then I started reading books that I knew in English and Spanish. And so I started teaching myself a little bit. And when I finally figured out what I wanted to say, I went to go, I went to school ready to say it to him and worked up the courage. And he was gone.
Where'd he go?
They got deported.
Seriously? Damn.
But I loved the language so much, and I was just like, and I was so sad. So, my first love, was gone, ripped away from me. I felt terrible.
Do you speak any Hindu?
So
wait, is that
Hindu,
a cultural language? I'm not trying to be rude.
Hindu is like a people, like a group of people are Hindus.
So what is the language?
Hindi.
Oh, okay. I was close.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
So have you learned any of Hindi language?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
No.
I just forgot to ask.
I speak Spanish, but I don't speak any Indian languages. I know. So that segues into my next point, which was that I could also hang out with the Hispanic kids or the Latin kids because I spoke Spanish. So I kind of blended in everywhere, but I didn't really fit in anywhere. I was always like the poppy in a field of grass in any photo of my friends. So I guess for a while, I grew up not knowing how different I was.
Oh, okay.
Because I kind of fit in with everybody. So I gravitate more towards, I think, people who just are accepting people and just good people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even get so somber, but No, I just because
bring it down a peg. Why don't you?
No, I've dealt with that before. I primarily have black friends, but yeah, I've as growing up, I understand what that's like to try to weave between different cultures and have to code switch and
code switching is so real.
Yeah,
it's so real.
annoying.
But honestly, I think it is like a superpower. It really is.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because you can assimilate in ways that some other people can only imagine. There's not a room that you can't walk into and fit in.
Yeah, but my second language is visual, so I'm screwed.
So, right.
I'll just give you a hard time. But okay. Okay, so you mentioned modeling, obviously. Managing the realty
firm.
firm.
hmm
Hmm. So who are you currently signed with as a model?
So currently I'm signed with Lens of Adam
Mhm.
modeling agency.
And how did that come about?
So I was shooting with Adam. I don't even remember how Adam and I got started shooting. But I will tell you, actually, you know what?
Chicken butt?
Probably. But also, I don't know.
You don't
I
know how you
actually
got
don't
started?
know. I mean, I know that I started with the agency because he and I had been shooting for a while together, and it was something that he and I we had talked about him
gotcha.
doing it, and then I remember it came to fruition, and it was of course a no-brainer that I joined the team.
That's dope, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember truthfully. I'm trying to think of how I ever met Adam, but it was years ago. I don't even remember anymore.
I got you.
I can't even lie to you.
So for aspiring models, what are the benefits to signing with an agency? Because I don't really know. I don't have an agency, so I'm ignorant to it as
Yeah.
other people.
Well, again, like I said before, I mean, this industry is nothing but networking, and being in the right place at the right time, and never shutting your mouth. I mean, my big fat mouth has gotten me in places I never thought possible. I mean, I got to go on tour I got to go to Vegas for Kevin Hart.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, it was incredible. And if it hadn't been for me opening my big fat mouth and talking to everybody that was there, it wouldn't have ever happened. So being able to be with an agency, you are oftentimes offered the guidance that you wouldn't otherwise get at a fraction of the cost that a lot of other single, individuals or sole proprietors would offer you, like, models. You also get that network of or industry friendship. You get those friends within your agency. And that is honestly unmatched. Being able to have somebody in the industry that understands what you're going through and, is going through it with you even is really important, I think. And then also being able to have somebody represent you. So one of the nice things about being with an agency is that if something like the situation that happened to me with that photographer were to arise, oftentimes they have either a legal team or somebody they can refer you to say,
Gotcha. We're gonna
hey,
handle this shit. Yeah.
right. So that's a really nice added benefit to being with an agency. And then of course being able to book jobs a little easier. Oftentimes, if you don't have an agency, lots of places or lots of companies or firms that are booking models and talent, they won't even look at you because you don't have representation. I mean, it's the same way of bring it back to real estate.
Yeah.
Having an agency is like having a real estate agent or having a pre-approval letter to buy a house. It is showing them that you are serious about your craft. You are actually worth a damn.
But our realtor sucked, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, guess you should call one or call somebody that you know that knows some.
Well, I already bought the house now, so.
Well, listen, hopefully.
The next house, yes.
Yeah, the investment property.
There you go.
There you go.
Might take it and flip it in a couple years, but anyway.
Yeah, there you go. It's a booming area. It really is. I mean, I think in the next 4 or 5 years,
they're making the cost of living go up.
Oh yeah, I mean, I plan to sell or at least rent my house out in the next 3 or 4 years. I know I'll be there for at least 2 years. I'm not paying capital gains on that shit.
It's 5 years or 3?
For capital gains, 2 years.
That's it? Somebody told me it was 3 or 5, but clearly they didn't know what the fuck they was talking about.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure
I could be
it's
wrong.
2.
I've only been here a year and a half. So.
Yeah, I think it's 2.
Okay, so what does it look like to start on a modeling agency? Would you ever want to start? I've had people throw it at me, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah,
and I don't think
I really
want to.
think it requires an extensive network of industry contacts to be successful. If you're not able to book models' work, then is it an agency or is it just a group of models that like to shoot together?
Yeah, I do too much. So I couldn't do one even if I wanted to.
And I couldn't either. I think it's a lot of work, and I think it's something that you've got to be able to have at least 2 years of expenses saved and ready to go. You've just got to have serious cash flow to be able to do something like that, I think.
What does the cash flow go toward, typically?
So training for your models, making sure that everybody has good digitals.
What are digitals for those who don't know?
Digitals are like those raw footage or raw shots. So typically it's going to be like a black for women, black pants, black bodysuit, black heels. Very little, if any, makeup at all, and then natural hair.
Right, because it's to give those who would like to shoot or agencies or companies to know what you basically look like and how to put it all together.
Exactly. Here I am as a canvas.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what digitals are.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you use those with your comp card, which has your measurements,
Mhm.
your contact information, all that kind of good stuff. And then, being able to, like I said, provide training for your models. And then if compensation is something that you offer as well, or if that's like an added bonus or, whatever, from the agency, or, even just having the agency website, right? So making sure that you have that website run properly and making sure that it's formatted properly. So there's a lot of little moving parts that go into having an agency. And then, of course, the people that are funding or not funding, but, running your agency, they need to be funded. They need to be compensated. So figuring out how they get compensated, and being able to actually run it like a business rather than having it just be a cash draw that's just sucking in cash all the time and like nobody's working, nobody's getting anything done. So it's like, it's great to shoot with, this, that, and the fourth photographer and get published in this magazine. But if we're not making money and we're not turning profit,
Because
what are we doing?
Like I said, I've pondered on it. I'm not gonna do it because I got a bunch of shit I gotta do. But
Yeah.
I wanted to know some of the ins and outs of how that works, and because I see that some are really thriving. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's great to see like small agencies start, like that
Start from
budding
the bottom
agency.
and
Yeah.
really boom. Yeah.
And watch it. Yeah. I mean, I think it's incredible. And I think, the team that I'm on right now, I'm really looking forward to watching that happen and seeing them, seeing us grow as a team, and just seeing where it takes us. So I think, me personally, I could never do what they're doing just because, number one, I don't have that kind of capital.
Nah,
But
I ain't
number
got
two,
it.
I think, it requires, like I said, a lot of patience and an extensive industry network that, I'm working on, but I don't have yet.
Me neither. I just DM people and be like, yo, you want to take some pictures?
So, yeah, I think that if I had the time to do it and I had the capital to do it, it'd be something that I would consider because I do love, bringing people together in that manner. But in my current state, no such time.
Okay. So what is your next goal specifically as a model? Because I think, like you said earlier, most people's, not all, but most people are like New York Fashion Week, and then I guess it would be Paris Fashion Week. I don't know if that's what it's called, but
Paris, London, or Italy are my next ones.
Excuse me, 3. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
those are the next ones I want to do.
And why? Which one is the number one, or those 3 kind of?
I think probably Italy or Paris, just because they do like that more petite look.
Okay.
Paris especially. So I think Paris probably first. Paris and Italy are kind of neck and neck. My best friend lives in Italy right now, so I'd love to go see her and then show. But so Paris and Italy. Hopefully September of next year, one of the two will come about. But I guess people will just have to keep watching me to see.
Okay, so
what does or doesn't happen.
I know you haven't been yet, but what would you say is potentially the difference between a New York Fashion Week and a Paris, London, or France Fashion Week? I don't know. So
really, I think for me, it's just the people. That's really what's different is the people and meeting new people and finding new opportunity and being able to have the chance to be photographed in a country I've never been photographed in before.
That's fire. That's fucking fire.
Yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
Okay, and so business-wise, what's next?
Business-wise, you mean for real estate?
Or just career.
Yeah. So, like I said, I love my job. I love where I am in real estate. We are expanding our commercial division of the firm. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And being able to be a part of that team as well. And just really looking forward to expanding my horizons of knowledge, both within my career and just within, life in general. I find that I learn a lot of stuff about just adulting and life, through my job. So I'm looking forward to that continued opportunity to do that.
Okay, so we will close on what would you? It's so corny, but I'm still gonna ask.
Okay.
What would you advise aspiring models? What would be your 2 cents for aspiring models?
Not every photographer is worth shooting with. Not all photos are good photos.
I agree with that part.
Yeah. And not every single photo belongs in the portfolio. Your portfolio needs to be an exact book of who you are, right? So if fitness is not your thing, I am fit and skinny, I don't work out. I hate working out. I'm not going to put a bunch of workout stuff in my portfolio because guess what? I don't want to shoot that. Don't have me squatting with a 25-pound kettlebell thinking I'm not about to be shaking like a stripper. No. Like, you know, so I'm not going to put that in my portfolio because that's not what I want to shoot. So be sure that your portfolio has variety, but is still true to who you are. And the last thing I would say would be to have fun and enjoy what you're doing and understand that when you start to take your career seriously, or even if you don't, there's going to be times and lulls in your career, like times where you're not working or lulls in your career, and that's okay. You know, come back to it. It's not the end of the world. You can always come back to it. Don't beat yourself up over it. There's nothing wrong with taking time off. And just because you haven't shot in 6 months doesn't mean you're not still a model.
Okay, I fucks with it. Now, how do we find you?
How do you find me?
Social media.
Oh, I thought you were asking for my address.
I used to say socials, and people are like, my social security number. Boom, your social media.
I'm hollering. So you can find me on Instagram at aks.themodel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
I'll put it at the bottom of the screen.
For sure. aks.themodel. And I'm on Facebook.
Why is it AK the model?
Huh?
Why is it AK?
It's AKS the model.
Why?
Because those are my initials.
Oh, okay. I actually don't know your last name. You don't have to say it right now. I just didn't know.
Yeah,
your
I can't
last
give the whole government.
name.
Might as well ask for my social.
Oh, Lordy. Well, I want to say thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being here. And thank you to everybody who's watching and listening. And we are out of here. Peace. Hey.
Boo kitty deuces. Wait, look at my nails. Okay, bye.